to our virtual office hours. We are glad that you're here. If you haven't done so, it'd be great for you to use the link to get our Padlet up so that you can follow along as we share. If not, just look at the screen. We are going to kind of move through the Padlet today. Our agenda and everything is on there. Okay, Meredith is having trouble with her audio today, so she's going to use the chat box, but we want to welcome you and thank you for joining. This Office Hours for Project Success. Project Success is a resource center, part of the Indiana Resource Network, which is in partnership with the Indiana Department of Education. Our mission and vision is to support leaders and paraprofessionals and teachers of students with significant intellectual disabilities. Our website can be found at www.projectsuccessindiana.com. During the school year, on a typical school year, not like this one, we typically provide support to teachers and leaders and paraprofessionals in the form of on-site paraprofessional development, virtual check-ins and trainings, webinars, and helping the development of model sites and working with them on curriculum. I want to take a minute to introduce to you our Project Success team that are all on today. We have Meredith Keedy-Burke. She is having trouble with audio. She's here with us. Ashley Quick and Mary Baker-Bedusa and Amy Howie, and then myself, Heidi Brett Baker. So the purpose of us having these virtual office hours, this is our 5th one. It's hard to believe that it's been 5 weeks since we started these, just when we all started on this new journey of virtual learning. But we wanted to have these to develop a community amongst teachers, support staff, therapists, leaders that were willing to share with us what they're doing in their distance learning and what strategies they're utilizing to work with families and students for working with students with significant intellectual disabilities. The goal certainly was not for us to have all the answers. It certainly was really just to be a support and kind of facilitate so that we all have a way to share and kind of house all the wonderful examples that teachers and support staff were sharing with us so that we could share it with anybody who is in need of support during this time, which we pretty much all are, because this is an all new territory for all of us. And we certainly wanted to be able to talk about some of the challenges we're having, give each other ideas, celebrate the many celebrations that have occurred as this distance learning has started 5 weeks ago, and then really help to see what's next needed. So each week we have been collecting reflections as we go through the virtual office hours, and we look at those and kind of plan for the next week what is still the need and what's still a challenge for teachers, and then put our ideas down for the next week. Thank you, Meredith. Meredith says in the chat box, I forgot to introduce that Mike Nevins is with us. He is from our Indiana Secondary Transition Resource Center, and he's going to be sharing in a little bit with us. Thank you, Meredith. So today we are going to kind of go through our Padlet, talk about some guiding questions. We're going to share with you some resources and some ideas about some of the things for transition skills and for employability skills and post-secondary. And then we are going to hear from Mike from Instruct, and we will also have a time where we will share with you about some upcoming trainings, as well as have a time for reflection. Anybody have any questions before we get started looking at the Padlet? You can put that Padlet back up just in case everybody needs to see that again. But we will start with, let's just talk about the Padlet. If you're new to using a Padlet, the Padlet is really just a platform to house a whole bunch of different ideas, questions, resources, so that you have them all in one place and easy access. You read it from left to right. Under each column, you are able to add new resources by this small circle with the plus sign, and you can add multiple things under each column. And if you have any resources to share with us, as we're talking about these transition strategies and employability strategies, feel free to go ahead and add to our Padlet. So So let's start out with what's on our Padlet today, and then I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what's on the Padlet today. Then we're going to do some guiding questions and have some conversations, and I would really hope everybody would chime in. We really want you to participate. All we ask is that while somebody's speaking, just allow them to speak, and then put your mute button back on and let the next person speak. So on our Padlet today, we have just a thought. We have our agenda. We have our guiding questions. We're going to talk about planning and scheduling for transition skills. We have some choice boards. We've really been working with choice boards a lot for students, and you know, part of really thinking about transition skills and independent is really giving students choice and informed choice, and so choice boards smoothly fit in with that for students in this arena. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some transition activities that are being posted right now. Mike's going to talk about all the different resources that the Indiana Secondary Transition Resource Center has for us. We will remind you about the upcoming professional development, and all of our previous Padlets from the last 4 sessions are listed here as well, so that you can go back. They're all kind of housed in one place. Like we talked about, this Padlet is really helping you to keep everything together all in one spot. So all the Padlets for the last 4 weeks are there. So let's get started with some guiding questions. And I think somebody's going to put those guiding questions in the chat box. But if you'd like to start out by sharing, does your current schedule include transition activities? So if you'd like to just unmute yourself and share, please. So as you're thinking about how you've been giving distance learning students and giving them choice, where have you included transition activities? Thanks, Nicole, for saying yes. Do you feel like sharing any with us?
Yeah, hopefully you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I do it with doing videos for the students, and then they go and do the stuff at home, and the parents give me a report, or the parents tell me specifically what transition activity they're working on, and then I find materials for them, adapt it, and send it off to the parents.
Great. So are you giving them a choice, or you're just giving them a particular activity?
I'm giving them a choice, or they tell me specifically what they're working on at home with their mom or with their grandma, and then we develop a plan from there.
Great, thanks. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Anna, do you want to share a little bit about what you're doing?
I just gave my kids at-home jobs, and I gave them a choice board, and the kids get to choose what they want to do, and then they report back to me. I also have created next dollar slides so they can, I did like a training video, which we use out in the community a lot, that strategy, and usually that's where we practice it in the real life setting, but they're not getting that. So I created this, like, I took pictures from the Walmart app and uploaded them on Google Slides, and then made like practice for them.
Great. All right. Great, thanks for sharing, guys. How are you activating engagement around employability skills if students have those listed in their goals and their IEP, or if that's just part of your curriculum that you're working on? How are you activating that through this distance learning? And then what, if any, great tools that you found, educational tools or resources, would you be willing to share those or tell us about them?
This is Deb Cook from Fort Wayne. Hi. We have been doing some Zoom meetings with our students, and so each curricular area takes one day of the week to do a Zoom chat. And so today our independent living skills teacher did a cooking lesson, and she sent out on our, we use Power School to get our activities out there. So she sent out the food items that they needed for the cooking project. And then today, as she was making the item on her Zoom chat, then she had students making it at home. And some of the parents took pictures and sent those to her. So I think they all had a good time.
That's a great idea. So how far in advance did she send out the items what they needed for the recipe?
Beginning of the week. I think it was Monday. She had all her activities posted. Our vocational teacher has several activities, and then as they do those through the week, you know.
What kind of vocational activities are they doing?
The first week she had them look at their bedroom, clean their bedroom, you know, like pick up dirty clothes, that kind of thing. And then on the next day she was saying, now let's go back, let's look. Has anything changed? How does your bedroom look? As she's had them sweeping, doing things outside the week that the weather was nice.
Good. Great. Thank you for those examples. What other types of tools and resources are you using to help students with transition skills as they are at home? How are you prompting for independence? So if you're doing Zoom, I can see how you're working on that. But if you're having them do it independently, you're not modeling it right there. What are you helping students utilize for independence, working on either a vocational skill activity or even an independent living as a chore? Are you sending home checklists? Are you visuals? What are students using to help them be independent in those activities?
Hi, Heidi. This is Mary. I just wanted to let you know there were a couple of posts in the chat box about resources they're using.
Okay.
Cognitopia, and then Mike posted Dr. Kit and Career One Stop as
Great.
good sources for videos.
Thank you. Leah, can you tell us more about that? What you're using?
So, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, perfect. So my transition specialist, I'm the person that writes IEPs, and I believe it is free at this point. I guess we are piloting it or something along those lines. And each young adult has an account, and there is different modules. There are self-determination skills, routines, goal guide, and my life. So it's like three big like sections.
Topics, areas.
Yep, absolutely. And I guess it's been very, very helpful. The other thing that my transition teacher has been using is House Party, because it's more accessible because you can do it on the phone and all of those things. And she does like Zoom meetings for like all day with different students individually, I believe.
Okay.
But I guess Cognitopia has been great, Sherry is telling us.
Great. We will, just to let you guys know, if you're on the line, we will get the links and we will add them to, we have a resource sheet, a curriculum resource sheet, and we can add those links after the recording today. So you'll be able to have access to those as well. And STAR autism support, what does somebody want to share with us what that is, Regina? Oh, you can't get your microphone to work. Okay, but has anybody used the STAR autism support? Okay, well, we'll keep that in there. Thank you, that Accessible Chef. Rita, that's what they're using for picture visuals for cookbook and for recipes.
Yes, they can create their own recipes too, and It's picture supported, and there's also recipes that you can access online that are already there.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Mike, you want to talk about Dr. Kit?
Sure. Yeah, it's a site that just has a ton of career videos. They have longer ones that interview the person doing the job, and then they also have what they call the shorties, which is just about the job. And I kind of like the shorties a little better because my attention span doesn't last for that real long, and some of our students don't either. So I think that one works good. For some students, the longer ones that interview the person doing the job might be good. I mean, they're great to use in the classroom too, but I think with what's going on right now, it'd be fairly easy to be able to use, send some of those links. If a student knew what job they wanted, then you could have them look in that cluster. If they don't really have a clue yet, you could have them kind of, search a wide range of them, and then just kind of write up some questions already about what they learned about it. Then that could be your assessment that you use for the next year. But if you just write up about it, Career One Stop's another one that has videos just like that. But they update their videos all the time, and there really is any possible job you could think of are on their sites.
Talking in a couple of minutes on the choice boards, there's a couple other places too besides Career One. There's that My Next Move and What Do You Want to Be? They're on the choice boards that we're going to talk about in just a minute. Those sites all have video and career videos to see for students to explore. So those are great resources. Thanks for sharing those.
And while you're talking about Intact, I think we might be talking about that some later, but Intact's putting out like at least weekly, sometimes more than once a week. They're giving updates for new information on how to do transition services. So they have a ton of information they're putting out all the time. If you just want to follow, you can get on their list and get updates from them all the time.
Yeah, and they send you, you're right, Mike, they send you weekly webinars, opportunities that you can participate in as well. They're doing one like about every 5 days or so. There's a different one listed. Thanks for sharing, guys. Like Meredith said, we will archive those in the chat box and we will share all those resources as well. So any other new tools that you found that are very helpful for transition skills or for helping with self-advocacy for students or for independent living for students that we haven't mentioned yet? How many of your students are still working with your pre-ETS providers and doing some video or virtual learning with them? Does anybody have any that are still working with their pre-ETS providers and offering skills with them? So Leah says yes, they are. Once a week, they're Zooming. Okay. Does anybody have any examples or any examples they'd like to share about how to help students be more independent so they're not relying so much on their parents during this distance learning? Because we know that we're really working on, as far as transition skills, working on that independence piece and trying to help students be independent so they can transfer that, they can use those skills on a job site or on a work site later. Thank you, Kara, for sharing about your pre-ETS provider.
Hi, Heidi. This is Sarah Westerman from New Paltz.
Yeah.
I know with the choice board that I have created for our kids to do daily living skills, like Anna had mentioned as well, I have my students take Flipgrid videos of themselves, and then their parents can also take the video for them, and it kind of shows them doing the skill and their level of independence and learning that skill. So it gives them that opportunity. And it's fun for the kids. I got a lot of good feedback from my students this week. They enjoy making the videos and they enjoy watching them and seeing all their friends on them.
I bet they do. All right. Well, let's take a minute to look at the Padlet. Thank you, everybody, for sharing, and feel free as we're sharing resources and you see something that you have that you're using similarly, or that you might have something extra to share. Feel free to just unmute yourself and share. So let's under this planning and scheduling, like Mike just said a while ago, NTAC has a wealth of resources on their website, and I know Meredith put that website up into the chat box. But if you haven't, looked on their site, they have a lot going on. They show what's going on in many different states and a lot of different resources. They created some choice boards for career exploration, for post-secondary education, as well as independent living. And so then we just we went through some of those choice boards as well and put them later on the section here. I also want to share with you under this planning and scheduling, we, like we've been doing for each week, we have been creating considerations and best practice for whatever topic area we have. And so this week, we created a consideration document for distance learning with students with significant intellectual disabilities for employment, transition, and life skills. And it's just giving you the strategy and working with how to help parents or family members who are helping students during this time to break up some of the activities that they're working on, breaking up tasks, using choice boards, using real life pictures, using skill matrix when you're thinking about trying to get all those transition activities built in as well as your academic schedules. So that's what this consideration page is there. So we'd like for you to take a look at that. Then also under that, we have the skills matrix I was just talking to you about. That is really just taking your students' IEP goals, creating a column that lists that skill on the left-hand side, then breaking it down into the topic areas, the subjects that you are working with for your students. This we just picked reading, science, math, transition, and then notes for home or home activities. And if that's the goal, then figuring out in each one of those subject areas what you could be doing in that area as an activity or a skill in that lesson to match the IEP goals or the goals that you have for students. And then the last one under this document, this column, is we came up with several areas of lessons or ideas or activities that you could do under each transition category. So this is a list of the many different activities or lessons that you could do under work habits or under community and workplace etiquette. And there's about 4 pages of different transition skills and maybe activities that you could put on a choice board or you could embed in your lessons to working with students. Anybody have any ideas how they could utilize in their practice, right? These documents in their practice currently? Could you use these activities and examples in some of those choice boards that you guys have been creating for your students? Lost my chat box here. Let me see if people have been answering over here. Well, I hope those will be helpful and you'll have a chance to look at them. So yes, but I would want to add some pictures. Yes. Yeah, you can break it down. We didn't have to use all those charts at one time. These are just the ideas that you could put in there, and I would agree pictures would be helpful.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hi, I got my speaker to work, I think.
Oh, great.
I have a question about the choice boards. For remote learning, how are you getting these to the parents? A lot of my parents don't have printers or access to the computer resources, so I'm just curious as to how you're getting the materials to them at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a little bit different from different places. So if they have a computer, obviously you would just send it by email or on whatever platform the school is utilizing. I know that other school districts where they are sending home packets, if they are picking up for, you know, their their lunches and their meals, that they're handing out packets then too. And then you would put pictures or put a checklist on the choice boards instead of like the links to the internet access points of those.
Okay, thank you. And I was the one that posted the information about Links. Links is a program. I guess it's more of a curriculum that we use in my school, and it's based for autism support. But they have in that link that I posted, they have a bunch of free resources about. There's a booklet on the steps of hand washing and a whole bunch of resources for sequence strips and visual reminders and some token boards and things like that that they're providing free right now. It's a really good program for my class.
Great. Thank you for sharing. I'm glad your audio is working now.
Yeah, I got out of remote access, so I'm good.
Does anybody else have any ideas how, if your students are not able to access the internet, how you are handing out those packets or getting information to parents? I think that's mostly what I've heard, either mailing it or they're picking them up at the lunch pickup. Thank you, Jen. You're mailing them. Okay. All right. Moving on, this was from Intech. They created just a sample schedule, having the students' IEP goals across the top, the three secondary area, the transition areas, and then they built the students' schedule based upon that. Thank you, Kara, Kara put something in our chat box about digital choice boards. She gave us a resource for that. Here, and the next three are just some sample choice boards that we created based upon the different transition skills, employment, education skills, as well as independent living skills. So this resource that Kara gave us would be great. You could use that to create a digital choice board. We just wanted to give you some examples along the way. What's important, I think it would be, like somebody mentioned, adding pictures if your student needed some more visuals. If your student, if you're mailing these out, instead of being able to send these out for internet digital use, then maybe you are actually putting the checklist right inside that box, so that parents and students can do that in the paper pencil copy instead of doing a digital copy. There is 3 different choice boards. There's a post-secondary, and then there's an independent living one as well. These can be switched, these can be switched out each week. You could use these for a week and let them pick one activity. You could use them for 2 weeks, and however you want to use a choice board, you could use that. It could be pick one each day. If you just put 5 in the board, however you want to give students a choice, but you want to give students that choice to be able to pick out what they would like to work on. All right. Ursuline Green here in Indiana is a training institute, and they just started this past week where they are going to do on their site, where they are going to list a different video of how to do different transition activities. So to fold a sheet, we might all need that one, how to fold a fitted sheet, setting your alarm, recurring alarm, different things, but they're going to be doing that now until the end of May. And that's just right on the Ursuline Green website, and it's free to everybody. Any questions for any of those resources that I've just shared? Or do you have any that you'd like to add or talk about? All right. Well, Mike, are you ready to share about the Indiana Secondary Transition Resource Center?
Sure.
Right here, but Mike's going to share a whole bunch. So I am going to unshare my screen. Right. Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I think I'm hitting.
All right. There we go.
Okay, so yeah, on your Padlet, there's resources that is fairly new. We just came out with some new resources specifically for students with high support needs, and that's all on the Padlet. I was going to go through just some other resources we have, and if there's questions on the way, please just ask on the way. I'm Mike, just a little bit, introduce myself a little bit, with the Center on Community Living and Careers. We have several projects that are within the center, and one of the projects is the Indiana Secondary Transition Resource Center. And I'm part of that, and we work on everything having to do with transition to adulthood and training at schools across the state. One of our projects, one of our resources I wanted to show, this is going from each page, isn't it? You guys see the
Yes.
rubric? Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I'd hate to talk about something and everybody's looking at something else. So we have the rubric. I'm sure some of you have seen this, but I'm just quickly going down to show some of the pages. But it goes through the whole transition IEP, and it gives guiding questions, then quality examples of how it should look in the IEP. It also gives non-compliant examples. So, and there are examples that fit students with high support needs in each of the sections. So that's a good resource to use for the transition IEP. We also have the transition services and activities, which goes through case studies and a description of a student. And I went down here to Bella because the example on here for her is a student with high support needs. It gives an example summary of findings and then shows how it should connect to the IEP, to the post-secondary goals, the transition services, and then how all those should align, how the whole IEP should align. So I think that's another really good resource on how to show all that connection. This is the IEP mini-series, which it is, you get points, you can get professional growth points for doing that. That goes through the whole IEP again. It's 7 different courses on Canvas. But whenever I say that, don't think it's not really super long courses. They're pretty short. But we're going to add some more courses to that too, to the whole list. But there's some on there, and it goes through each section. And in each section, there is information on how to support students with high support needs. And then this is on your Padlet, some of the resources that are specifically for students with high support needs. And one is there's just we have the transition matrix, which you can get to from our site, which you can search all kinds of different assessments from there. We also put this one out separate because sometimes people, you just want to find, assessments that fit students with high support needs, because sometimes it's hard to find those. So here's a list of some that might work for those students. And then at the bottom, there's also some websites, just connections to other centers that have specific assessments that fit those students. The Zero Center has a really neat assessment that fits there too. And you can get to all this from our page. We also, and that's on your Padlet, and so is this. This is a sample of a post-secondary. Well, no, this is from the mini series. This is on post-secondary goals, just on specifically the post-secondary goals and how to kind of write those in the IEP. Since sometimes it's difficult to write post-secondary goals that are compliant for students that have significant needs. So there's an example of the post-secondary goal and the rationale and why it makes sense, and then a bunch more information on it. And it gives employment, education and training, and independent living examples. And then this you have on the Padlet is a sample present levels that could be for a student, and the student name is Josie. And it goes through what the present levels could look like for a student with significant needs. And then there's also a different document that connects to those present levels, which is a sample IEP. So there's sample assessments that might work for the student and a summary of findings, post-secondary goals, transition services, and annual goals. Sometimes it just kind of helps to see how it should align. So this is a compliant example for a student with significant needs. We offer all kinds of training, and there's a lot of other resources on our site. And I know I went really fast through that, but are there questions, or are there anybody have questions on how to do some of that with everything going on now and that I could help answer? What we found is that right now, a lot of the services and stuff, especially the services, they can still be done in the situation we're in now. You just have to kind of adapt it a little in. I think it's very important to also, even though we're working with the student, we need to talk with the parents a lot and kind of support them a lot, because they're at home and thinking that really a lot of it is on them, when in actuality, to help the student, I think they can be independent. It's a good time to show parents on maybe how independent their student can be in some ways.
Mike, somebody asked, are the mini series free for everybody?
Yes. Yep. It's all free. There is a truth. I wish it wasn't a pain. It's somewhat of a pain to register for it, because you have to go through IU. That's where I work, and you have to register as a guest at IU account, but then you can get on. And after you're done with each section, you can get a certificate for professional growth points.
Mike, if somebody needed some transition support now for distance learning for the IEPs or for assessment, who do they reach out to?
You can email me directly if you want, or our Instruct email, which is on our website, and ask. Yeah, we're doing training now online. We're working with schools now. So if you want, now there is the 3-year rotation for the transition IEP. So it depends on where you're at on that rotation on actually the type of training. But I can help you with that, and I got the list. I can tell you where your school district is. A lot of times the schools know if you're in your year for training, if you're going to be federally, if you're going to get looked at federally in May of 2021, then you get free training from us for the whole next year. But we can do training for you at any time, but that's kind of how it works with the rotation.
Questions for Mike? Anybody have any questions? Meredith has put Mike's contact information in the chat box if you need that. Mike, do you want to show them the matrix, the assessment matrix? Not everybody is familiar if they're from a different state.
Yeah. Let me.
While he's looking that up, feel free, if you are from a different state and you have a transition resource center, you can send us the link. That would be great. Or if you can share with us something that you're doing in your state, that would be wonderful.
So this is our website, and if you go to our transition resources, the second link down is the assessment matrix. So on the matrix, what you can do is you choose where you're looking for an assessment at. If you want one on employment, and it's for a sophomore and a student that's had a traumatic brain injury, then it shows you a list of assessments that might be good. And then you can click on one. Let's try to find something a little different. Let's click on this one. And then like there's the career clusters is one. And what I really suggest on assessments too, especially with everything happening now, you don't have to use exactly the whole way an assessment comes. Adapt that assessment for the student. Just because it comes up like this doesn't mean you have to use every part. If you have an assessment that seems way too long and really you just want to use a part of it, that's fine. You don't at all have to use an assessment the whole way it comes. Also with assessments now, an interview counts as an assessment. I would think about what questions you want to ask the student and or the parent, and make it something real. Don't just like kind of slop something together, but really think about what information you need, write out the questions, and then you can do an interview as an assessment. A lot of times it's good to do that same interview with the student and the parent, because you're going to get very different information. So think about if you're going to use an interview in that way. So that's the matrix. You can search. We have authentic assessments on there too. Authentic assessment is just an assessment that's created. So you could use right after activity the student's doing. Like
And
this.
that is a free resource, right, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
It's free. It's right on our website. You might already get them. If you don't, we also have Tuesday tips every Tuesday during the school year. We're going to end it in May. We stopped doing them in May, but every Tuesday we give out a tip. And the last few weeks have all been related to COVID-19. So we put out how to put transition services and assessments and how to do all that. The one that just came out this Tuesday was on voc rehab, but you can search all our tips for years past too. So you can put in there and put a topic you want to look up and find all kinds of information.
Thank you. Leah shared her transition link for Massachusetts, I believe that is. And then Rita shared hers for Florida, the transition in Florida. Thank you for sharing those. And Meredith is letting you know that we are going to be doing a collaboration fall project with Project Success and Instruct and IEPRC partnering to work on fall regional training. So just stay tuned and be watching if those will end up being face-to-face meetings or virtual meetings. We're all yet to see if those
Our meetings are like that.
But,
yeah, we're excited to work with Project Success and IP Resource Center on that. But yeah, we're still we're planning to do them in person, but you never know. We can switch to online fairly easy. So.
Thanks. Anybody else have any other questions for Mike? A couple people said that's incredible, Mike. Thank you. So thank you for sharing all those wonderful resources with us. All right, Mike, I'm going to take back over the screen. Thank you. All right, so let's just finish up a couple of things on the Padlet. Upcoming professional development. We have decided to already transition our summer regional training because starts in the early part of June to virtual training. So our summer regional training flyer is here. Registration is open already. We are working on inclusive practice this year, and it's going to be broken into 3 different sessions. They will all follow each other. And once you complete the webinars and the pre-activities and post-activities for it, you can receive 12 PGP points for that. So if you would like to register for that, we'd love for you to do that. Also, if you're in Indiana and you're looking to have on-site professional development, hopefully that we'll all be able to see each other in person in the fall. Here is the registration for that as well. Please submit that. And then last, our registration is still open for teacher leader cohort that will be starting this fall. So if you'd like to register for that, please complete that registration and get that sent in. Those are all of our upcoming professional development for Project Success. You can always find any of our upcoming professional development on our website, www.projectsuccessindiana.com. And there's links where you can register for all those. Like I said before, we also have on here all the past Padlet office hours that we've had. So they're all listed here and some other DOE resources. And the other thing that's listed on here is our feedback, and we'd really like to get a reflection of what we've talked about today and what you would like to see. So we're going to ask you to fill that out in just a minute. But before we do that, I'd like to know, does anybody have any questions about today's resource or things that they would like to share with us about transition that we didn't talk about yet today? Thank you for the many of you have shared many different resources. Like we said, we will archive the chat box, and we will put we do have, if you can see on any of our previous Padlets, we have a running list of curriculum resources, and we will add those resources to that so that they will be all housed in one spot. If you go to our website, that projectsuccessindiana.com, you can access that curriculum resource guide too, as well as the Padlets and all the different guidance documents that we have created for the last 5 weeks. Those are all on our website. Also, we also can, on our website, you can get in contact with any of the Project Success coaches. All of our emails are on there. And we'd like for you to reach out to us if you have a question or just to share. We'd love to hear about any great celebrations you've had so far. We know the 5 weeks, this past 5 weeks has been definitely a change into our teaching and our strategies, but we'd love to hear any celebrations you have. I know some of my folks are on here, have been on here all 5 weeks. You have some celebrations to share. I'd love for you to share some things that are going well. Lessons are ready for Friday and Monday already. Yay, Anna, you're thinking ahead. Somebody said that they would love to hear some things that are happening. Hear success stories of students with complex needs who transitioned, are happily working and being active participants in their community. Anybody have a transition story they'd love to share about somebody who's transitioned out of their program and are happy and healthy in their community? Well, some people are thinking about that. I can tell you about, we work with a residential school here in Indiana, and we've been working with them on transition skills and pre-ed services, and they oftentimes don't get to leave campus very often, but in our pre-ed program, they have acquired several different job sites, and they have been very successful in working in a pizza shop. They are working in a daycare, and they are working at a pet store, doing many different activities. So those have been really, really successful for those students who often don't get to leave the campus, but now have really worked through the pre-eds program and their transition skills and are being very successful in the community. How about challenges? Does anybody have any challenges that they want to share with us, and maybe how they've problem solved through that, or maybe we could problem solve with you about how you are having challenges working through these transition skills? How are parents responding? Kara said her whole class is checked in this week, and she's had some great Google Meets. One of our educators from Hamilton Heights has a student working in the library this year, and it's been a big transition, and she's doing an amazing job. Somebody's celebrating. They had a great positive IEP with a mom this week. Those are great to see. Here's a challenge. Team members with low expectations not working on age-respectful activities. That's a tough one. Anybody have any suggestions? What have they done? What have you done to help other members get on board and think about things that are age-appropriate activities that students can do to meet their transition needs?
I think the low expectations. Sorry. I think the low expectations question or problem is a big one that I think that happens even without what's going on now all the time. But I think something good is to show other people like that or teachers like that maybe have those low expectations is what we were talking about before, is true success stories, is show other students that have succeeded and then show how much work that did take, though, because it does take a lot of work. It takes really kind of helping and not really pushing students, but supporting students to be independent. So trying to show them really good successes is what helps, I think, because I think most people that get into education, they want to do what's good. They just, truthfully, what it is, they don't believe it can happen. So they need to see some of those success stories to make it work.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. Kara said that one of the challenges was that her students who don't have technology at home and receiving resources, parents don't know how to operate technology, but it's getting better each week. I think another thing that really helped was, I remember, I think in week 2 or 3 of our office hours, we were talking about parents didn't really necessarily have some high expectations, and they thought some of the work was challenging and was too high of expectations. But once they saw that their students could do it, or their child could do it, they were really amazed, and then they raised their expectations. I think a couple of teachers talked about that, so that was great. Somebody said sometimes teachers don't have the same vision. That's true. So providing guidance and giving examples of presumed competence for academics and standards is very helpful. I would agree. Thank you all for sharing. Great. Somebody just click on to share.
I'm sorry, it's me again.
No, go ahead, Mike.
We offer another training, not through Instruct, but through CCLC, called FEAT. And right now it's just done in Northeast Indiana because that's where we got the grant to do it. But it's going to spread out, and FEAT stands for Family Employment Awareness Training. And the whole goal of it is we have people come in that talk about success stories. It's a 2-day training, and that's part of it. And then we also bring in providers and VR and a lot of people to talk about that. And it's been our director, Judith Gross, started it in Kansas, and it's been all over the country, but we're starting it here in Indiana now. And it's been very successful to help not just parents, but everyone involved understand about possibilities. So you might listen for that right now. Like I said, it's just in Northeast. Anybody can go see it whenever we get back into the swing of things. You don't have to live in Northeast Indiana to be a part of it, but that's where they're at right now. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing for that, Mike. Is there a link on the website for that, Mike?
There is.
Okay.
You can get to, from the CCLC page, there's some information. It's Family Employment Awareness Training.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you. All right, any last minute questions or last minute comments? Before you go, we would really love for you to fill out our feedback form. It's in that last column. I think Meredith will put a link in. But if you could fill that out, like I said, we really do read those every week. We meet each week to talk about the virtual office hours and what the needs are and what you guys would like to hear about next. So we hope that you could fill those out for us. I'll stay on the line for a couple of minutes. If you have any other questions you'd like to ask or any other comments, we'd really appreciate that. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing all the wonderful resources. We will keep those all in the chat box, and we will put those on our list. Amy's asking, if you are not in Indiana, can you please let us know what school district you are working for and what state? We'd really appreciate that. And next week, we are going to focus in on summer and then transitioning back into school in the fall. So we'll be talking about those two things next week, but really talking about summer work for students and how we can support families during the summertime. Leah, thanks for joining from Massachusetts. I know we've had several Florida people on today. Thank you. Thank you, Leah. And if you haven't visited our website, please, if you're new to us, please visit our website. There's a wealth of resources on there as well. Mike, thank you for being a visitor on our office hours today. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all your resources you shared.